drive my car? Who's gonna drive you home? Well, I'm a friendless stranger in the black sedan. Won't you hop inside my car? On the expressway to your...
All right, you know what that theme music is? The Auto Show is here. Chip Lyness and Louie Herron in studio. It is the Auto Show. Catch it every week at this time. Chip Lyness and Louie Herron from Louie Herron Toyota talking about the myths of car buying.
Yeah, this is some interesting stuff. The getting into the next one, we were talking about the trade. He actually, this particular gentleman who's writing this article and these tips, he point blank says the most important thing you need to remember is always to keep your trade out of the car buying process. I'll keep it out all the way until the very end, and then you can put your trade in the deal once you've already had a signed buyer's order on the price that you're purchasing. So we've talked about this. Now, again, when you're talking about negotiating a company, negotiating for a home, or negotiating for a car, I believe in negotiating the best you possibly can. And I think any way you learn to negotiate, obviously the goal is to save as much money as you can, right? But I think the spin that this guy has is he's looking to try to find ways. The concept is how you can hurt the business versus save yourself the money. And I think that's the concept where I think it can be, it could get you in trouble. Now, when we talk about holding the trade to the end, what's your thoughts? We've done this for quite some time. What are you thinking on that?
I would not do it. I mean, either sell it before you get there and just come with the cash, or just be upfront with it. Just say, this is what I got.
Here's what I want to caution you on, okay? If you have the mindset to hold your trade into the very end, this dealer still can win on that deal if they know your intent was to hold it. And what I mean by that is, whether you put it in the beginning or the end, I still think you're better off doing it in the beginning because everybody knows what they're dealing with and you've got both figures. If you negotiate a $20,000 price on a car and then say, oh, by the way, now I have a trade-in, okay, the dealership, if they've already negotiated down price lower than they wanted to go, but they wanted the deal, and then you threw in this trade because you thought, first of all, the mindset of a consumer is whatever you see on AutoTrader or Cars.com, what those cars are going for is what you're going to want for the car, which is retail. So just like a dealer shouldn't and probably couldn't get away with selling you a car for sticker and giving you wholesale for your trade, the reverse is not going to happen either. You're not going to be able to get a car at invoice and then throw in your trade and get AutoTrader money and get full retail for it. Because if you think about it, a dealer is in essence, he's writing a check and buying your car.
Right.
And he's going to recondition that car, and he's going to sell it himself. I mean, this guy does go on to say, understand that no dealership is going to give you more than wholesale value for your trade. Wholesale is the maximum you're going to get. You have to remember that the dealership has to resell your trade after spending some money checking out mechanically, taking care of the paint or body work that it may need, and doing any reconditioning costs, maybe even having to put tires on it, and then servicing it, and then lastly having to detail it. All of that costs money, so you're not going to get retail money for your car when all those expenditures are still left to be had, and the dealer wants to sell it for a profit, because and that obviously that makes sense. But if you think about it, I mean, when you throw it in at the very end of the deal, what you run the risk of doing is negotiating a great price, and then all of a sudden having a $10,000 car and the dealership offering you $8,000.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you're back into this back and forth.
Right.
And I think you can avoid that by saying, look, I've done research. I know what my car's worth. I've got a trade-in. There it is. Yeah. I've done research on your car, and here's what I'd like to pay for yours. Here's what I'd like for mine. What the dealer's willing to do or not is irrelevant to what you want to do.
Yep.
If you've done your research and you said, this is what my car is worth, this is what I'd like to pay for yours, this is the difference.
Right.
Right? That's where I want to be.
Yep.
It doesn't matter when you put the deal in.
So in other words, it all comes back to information. If you know what your trade-in is worth, whether it's at the end of the deal or at the beginning of the deal, that's what you want to get.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that I will tell you. Now, one thing it tells you in here, too, is don't fall for the trick that they're going to give you they're going to pay off your trade no matter what you owe. And I do think that, and I do agree with this, because I think that's when you hear stuff like that, it's very much a play on words, and you got to be very careful. What the dealership would imply is that if you owe 20, we're going to give you 20.
Right.
The truth of the matter is, if you owe 20, we're going to pay off 20.
Right.
But the difference is rolled back in as negative equity.
Yeah.
And your negative equity is not the dealer's responsibility, but it's going to be, if the bank will stomach the negative equity, they'll finance all of it.
Sure.
But when a dealer says we're going to pay you, we're going to give you, we're going to pay off your car even if you owe 20 grand, but you still may get 15, you need to know that you're getting 15 for the car.
Right.
So, anyways, those are some myths, and we'll get to some more when we come back. But that's some interesting stuff to understand the car dynamic. I would tell you that as it relates to these three that we've talked about, price difference is really a bottom line. I think that's a smart way to go, and they differ. They talk about throwing the trade in at the end. I'm suggesting whether you throw it at the end, the beginning, or whenever, it's going to come out the same. I think your research is more important than that. And then also, don't fall for the "we'll pay off your car no matter what you owe" thing, because regardless, the dealership will pay what you owe, but you may not get what you owe. And it's two completely different things.
Gotcha. All right, Louie, we're coming back with more, talking about the myths of car buying. We want you to keep it right here. Lake Area's #1 station and home of the auto show every week at this time. Chip Lyness and Louie Herron from Louie Herron Toyota. More coming up on the dock.